That's my baby.
I'm Dana Denha.
And I am Melissa Bondi, and this is Adventures in Parenthood. Throughout the series, we will explore the world of raising kids from newborns to adulthood.
We all know that reading to your kids benefits them greatly. As an infant growing into a toddler, it helps them develop their language skills and helps to build a love for the written word. As our children grow older, the benefits of reading continue to grow. So you actually brought a couple books that Bryn likes, but Bryn has like a specific taste. She likes interactive books, right?
Yeah, she definitely turned a corner recently as far as making books. She wants to touch them. So it's not so much just reading anymore, it's she needs to be a part of the story, a part of the book. And if it's got tabs and flaps and anything where you're, you know, opening something, this is just, you know, the cat's meow to her.
Yeah.
So it's super fun. I enjoy it too. And these books are so cute. I mean, they're just adorable. And especially, you know, when they make sounds like,
oh yeah.
I don't know if you can hear that, but
yeah.
when they make sounds, it's even better. It's so cute.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is one of her favorites, Peekaboo.
You actually did something special in this book too, didn't you?
I did, yeah, real quick. So this is another fun one. This is, you know, learning body parts. The nose
and I actually think this is a book that most people get when they have a baby. Like I feel like this is like just a book people they like to gift to you when you have a baby.
Right. Well, this one is a special one, and so what I did, and you know, I'm thinking I'm the most creative mom ever. What I did was I took a photo and I put it at the end, so you get to open it up and see, you know, what's behind the door. Peekaboo, and there she is. So I took that.
That's so cute.
Yeah. So what are some of your favorites? What are some of your favorites with Keaton?
So I actually brought in these ones because they're, I know I'm saying your name wrong, Sandra Boughton.
Okay.
Boughton. But her books are so fun to read, and I actually, like, this is one of my favorite ones to read because I like having, like, an accent when I read it.
Aww,
so, like, I think these ones are really easy to read and fun for the kids because they just rhyme so well, and her characters are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The other ones I brought for, she really liked these Sesame New Beginnings books.
Oh, yeah, of course,
They're short, easy to read, but, like,
big,
they're
colorful
characters she knows, and they're baby versions of characters she knows, so that, like, makes it even better, you know, because babies like babies.
Right, of course.
But I actually brought in a couple of my own picks from, like, when I was young.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think this is just, like, a classic that everyone in their life needs to read, Where the Sidewalk Ends.
Of course, yeah.
I just remember, like, reading this over and over again as a kid, like, picking my favorites and just, like, loving this book.
Yep.
And this was a gift to Keaton. We actually had a copy already, and then someone gifted it to us, so we'll have two, one for the family and one just for her to keep. But this one I brought in, this is the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series. This is the third book, but you start with the first. I just could not find it on my bookshelf as I was looking.
Okay.
But there's actually a movie coming out like this year with this book series, and this is like long awaited. I am so excited to see this movie because these books, like, I love the horror genre, and even when I was a kid, I would read R.L. Stine books, and then these books were in the mix. And, like, these books to me were, like, so scary, but, like, in a fun, really fun way. So even, like, on Super Bowl Sunday, they had a trailer for this movie coming out. And I'm like, I know that story. That's the one where the girl has a spider in her cheek. So, yeah, I was just super excited to, and like, promote the movie and read the book before the movie comes out because it's worth it. I think it's always better to read the book first, personally.
Well, I mean, I grew up, Stephen King was my go-to as a horror fan.
Yeah.
I read most of his books growing up too, even though, and then when they turned to movies, that was even better. Like, oh my gosh! But yeah, now it's all movies. No books as far as Stephen King, but I just want to see the movies.
Yeah.
And R.L. Stine, that's another one of my favorites too. Yeah, so I grew up with doing that. Okay, well, yeah. So no matter your background, books are available to all kids. There are different ways, and they bring different ways of love and reading to your family. So joining me today is Betsy Durant, who is Executive Director with the Children's Literacy Network, and Natalie Thompson, founder of Living by the Page. Welcome, ladies, to the show.
Thank you. I think we should start with what the Children's Literacy Network is, so people, because so some people don't know what it is. I actually didn't really know what it was until I looked it up.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Children's Literacy Network is a nonprofit organization that has been around serving Washtenaw County for over 25 years now. We've been around since 1991, and it was founded by two women, Jenny Zimmer and Joan Wiseman, and they were actually Head Start teachers in Detroit and looked around at the children that they were serving and the children they were working with and realized that a lot of those children did not have equal access to books. So they wanted to develop a love of reading in all children, and that is the actual mission of Children's Literacy Network, is to develop a love of reading and give all children an equal opportunity to put books on their shelves, which so many children actually do not have that opportunity to do. So we have 6 programs that are running, and I won't go into all of them, but some of the more recent ones, some of the more recent programs that we've just come up with are our FLIP program, which is involved with family literacy nights in the low resource schools around Washtenaw County, having parents actually come in and be engaged with their children around family literacy activities. And then our other new one that is up and coming and will be starting this next school year is Book Pals. And Book Pals is based on the old Pen Pals idea of Pen Pals. And it will actually, for the first time ever in Washtenaw County, connect more affluent neighborhoods with low resource neighborhoods. And children will be paired. Second graders, actually, in Saline and Dexter, will be paired with children in the Ypsilanti community schools. And they will be able to read a book to their book pal that they pick out, that actually the book pal will get as a gift. And they are going to read on a tablet and record themselves reading, and they're going to write a letter. So all of those skills of literacy are going to be bound up in this program. And then everything the next month will go over to the other paired school in Ypsilanti, and they will do the same for their book pals. And at the end of the year, the book pals will meet together for an end of the year celebration where they actually do one final book exchange together.
That's amazing. That sounds like so much fun for the kids.
It is going to be so much fun. It's going to be so excited, and it's going to bridge gaps between communities that have never been bridged before.
Was there age? What was the age range?
Second graders. We're focused on second graders because of the read by third grade reading proficiency law in Michigan. And so that is the group that we're going to start with the pilot program.
Okay.
Natalie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? And you are a board member for the Children's Literacy Network.
Exactly. Yeah. Very recent board member. So. And I'm Natalie Thompson, and I live in Dexter, Michigan. I have 3 children. They're ages 9, 7, and 4. And I grew up in Atlanta, and my parents are from Buenos Aires, Argentina. So I'm first generation, grew up bilingual. I'm one of 5. My parents were very busy and sometimes did not have the time to sit and read, but I was an early reader, so I was a bookworm, always just all growing up. So reading I knew was going to be very important as I started having children. And delving back into the world of picture books. And then my husband has his undergrad in literature, and my background is international relations, but every job I've had, whether it's been nonprofit to corporate finance, has involved a lot of reading and writing skills. So I know how important those are, and just in a fast-paced world that we live in, just competing against technology and everything, just, was starting to think about, well, what are ways I wanted to bring reading and a culture of literacy into our family? And so I started living by the page to encourage others, and it started off initially as an Instagram site, and now it has its own website. I do a lot of writing, blogging for the Huffington Post and other media outlets about literacy, and I've hosted a variety of workshops around the Ann Arbor area about cultivating a love of literacy in your family and also your community. So,
what do you think gets the most traffic? Your Instagram account, when people are trying to find their book recommendations?
Sure, yeah. I think so. I think because I love to read myself, and I share at the end of the year I put out a list of what my favorite reads have been, and everything I've read is on there as well. And then also my children are reading, and now as both my older 2, they were early readers, and so we do a lot of read out loud still, because the research has shown that even when your kids are older, to continue to read out loud. That was new for me. I think just, again, being one of 5, and the read out loud research was not so prevalent when I was growing up. So I think once you could read, it was just like you read on your own. Now it's like, you know, people are reading to 12-year-olds, to 15-year-olds, you know. And so my husband did grow up in a house where his parents would read sometimes longer stories. So that has been really fun to continue. I have a tradition with my kids I call Snacks and Stories, and it's an after-school tradition. And it started when my oldest was coming in from kindergarten. He was tired from that full day. I had 2 other ones that had napped. We're very excited to see him, you know. and it was kind of like a crazy time. And I realized, you know, what quieted everybody down was to give them all a snack so that they were fed. And that even though my oldest at that point at 5, I knew he could sit and read a book to himself, but I thought, why don't I read out loud to all 3 of them? Okay. And that way, that kind of calmed everyone down. Well, that started about 4.5 years ago, and that continues. Even though the schedules have gotten busier, basketball, soccer, all that, it's like they look forward to it. You know, we pick a longer read out loud. We're reading Elijah of Buxton right now. That's about the first freed slave in the Ontario settlement. And so it got the Coretta Scott King Award in the Newbery, and it's just been wonderful. We've had conversations about things that I wouldn't have thought, you know, that we would have sparked. And, you know, they're 7.5 and 9.5. I think you have to gauge with your kids what they can handle at when. But because it's told by the point of view of an 11-year-old boy, it's poignant but also humorous at the same time. So it's enough that we've been able to. My 4-year-old sometimes with a longer read out loud, obviously she can't sit through that, so I always start with a few picture books first.
Okay. And then she kind of goes and does her own thing.
And then if she toddles off or plays, you know, but it's amazing how much she'll later tell me how much she's picking up too.
Well,
you know?
she could even be walking around playing with something and still lissing to you, you know.
Yes, exactly. So that's been just like an example of a fun tradition that we've done.
That's super fun. Yeah. So let me ask you, the kids over the last couple of years when you've been doing this, who picks the books?
Sure.
Is there arguing in there? I'm thinking,
for the longer read out loud, I figured they don't know what's out there, you know, so it's like I think as a parent you get to choose. So picture books, I'll look at stuff throughout the library. If there's a season, we've been doing a lot of Valentine's books lately, and soon we'll get into our spring books. We've done a lot of winter books. But for example, when my oldest was around, again, you kind of do what your oldest is ready for. Charlotte's Web. This was a copy of mine from growing up. And so I started out with that. You know, I'll probably have to reread this one because my daughter was only 2 when I was reading this one.
Yeah,
so it's probably
she
one
needs
that
to
is
know
worth
the story.
to reread.
Yeah.
She turns 5 this May, so that's going to be my thing. And then I didn't grow up with Anne of Green Gables. So I don't know if it's a first generation thing, if I just missed it. I know a lot of people in my generation.
I didn't grow up with it either.
You didn't grow up with it either? Okay, because I have talked to so many people that was their favorite book, that sometimes their mom read it with them, or they just had seen I think there was a TV show or a movie about it. And so anyway, so I just figured, well, I'll try it. I know there's a point where my boys might not want to read books like this, so I figured I'm going to start just going for it and doing it. And this one was really funny, so we had a great time reading it. And so we've done Peter Pan. I figured if I can get some of the classics first.
Sure, yeah.
You know, and what earlier, as we were talking about some interactive books, Mina Lima, who did the studio sets for the Harry Potter movies, has come out with a bunch of different classics. And they're also very interactive.
Wow.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
So I think if you can find books like this, they're written in the original language. We read Beauty and the Beast in the original with this one, Peter Pan. They also have Jungle Book. And I mean, those are Jungle Book, the Rudyard Kipling original, took a lot of translation, you know, paragraph by paragraph. But because they've seen the movies too, even if they've changed a little bit, that's another good talking point. Well, you know, Disney portrayed it this way. The original author was showing that. And so that's kept their attention. And I do it just in segments. Like we just do a little at a time. You have to gauge your audience.
I think this is maybe for both of you. Like you mentioned, you do like snacks when you read, because I can sometimes when I try to read more often, she's not always receptive to it. So like, do you guys have tips for that? Like, is the snack a good thing to do with it? It seems like it's working for you. Even Betsy, do you have like sort of tips that like when they're just like, you know, I'd rather be playing with this toy?
Sure. So you know, choosing your times is really important. Bedtime is always one of the best times because that can be just such a downtime, but also a time to share and let them tell you a story. It's a great time to ask them questions about a book because they are kind of in that fading off time period where they're getting a little drowsy, but it's a great time to ask them to be creative with a book. Like, how would you have changed the ending? Or those kinds of questions are so neat to ask at bedtime when you really have their attention. then being creative with like building a fort. If you're going on your 90th snow day, you know, being creative with those things of building a fort, you know, underneath the table and letting them read with a flashlight, all of a sudden it just renews their interest. So anything that you can do with that, and then allowing them to read you the grocery list, like when you're at the grocery store, things like that, allowing them to look up a recipe with you and read the recipe on a tablet or on a computer when you're creating dinner. I mean, those are all great ideas and things that capture their attention and bring reading into the center of your lives without them really even thinking that they're reading. And those are great suggestions with the struggling reader who is always kind of like, you know, I really don't want to do it now. I don't want to do it now. I don't want to do it now. Being creative with those other things really helps.
Okay. I wanted to ask, part of my question for you would be, where do you find the struggle now with screen time versus reading and books? And it's that's huge.
So that's a great question. One of the things that Children's Literacy Network has done recently is we created an interactive reading website, clnreads.com. The reason we did that is to use technology as a hook to a book. A lot of times we think that you have to have one or the other. And using them both, you know, if your child wants to go on and do like a reader type program online, it's perfectly okay. You can count that as reading time. And the reason that we created that website is simply because we don't want the importance of books to go away. But we have to recognize the fact that, yes, the world is changing. It's been changing for the last 10, 15 years. And we know children love their screen time. So if you can use it as a hook to a book and get them to read and then do something with what they've read online, it's a win.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. Just the other day, I was sitting next to my daughter, and she was on a tablet watching YouTube videos, and all of a sudden she's just watching someone reading a book, flipping through the pages.
Exactly.
Yes. And she enjoyed it. She sat through the whole book.
Exactly.
So I like felt kind of mom guilt a little. I'm like, shouldn't I be reading this book?
She's still hearing the story.
Yes.
And I think it's just playing around with different mediums. Like there's Audible, there's subscriptions that you can find, and they're something called Sparkle Stories, and that's really neat. You can subscribe. You can also, I found them online, but they're like 20-minute stories, and they write and create and produce their own. And so that's been neat sometimes, you know.
So you're watching that?
But no, you're just hearing it.
It's just audio.
So it's just an auditory one. And we don't have any tablets at home, so I haven't, and they're not old enough yet to need them for school, so I haven't figured out yet how we feel about it, but I figured right now we live so close to our public library that, you know, just all that tangible feel, if we can get them used to that, you know, and just like holding the book, feeling the weight of it, you know, and just Nicola's books and Literati, they just offer some great story times there as well, and just making it a treat. So we do their summer reading programs through Nicola's, and they give, I forget if it's $7 off. They give the kids a certificate, like a gift certificate for the store. Cool. And so then that empowers them, you know, to say, okay, once you get through this many books, like you get to pick out, and sometimes they pick out mazes or dot to dots, you know, and so like an interactive activity. But I do think that we are competing a little bit against that screen time. And so offering children a chance to slow down, you know, to the ability to concentrate. I talk to the teachers at the school all the time, and they're like, if kids can just lose themselves in the book, it's such a privilege, it's such a treat to be able to do that. And so kind of you're kind of protecting them right now as much as you can, you know, and then as they get a little older and they're able to handle all that information that's coming at them from the screen.
All right, we're going to pause right there, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more. we're back with Betsy and Natalie giving us some pertinent info on literacy. So welcome back to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I did want to ask about, because, you know, when we think of traditional reading, we think of sitting down with a book and reading it out loud or reading it to ourselves. But with kids, young kids, sometimes they like your own stories. And so you can either like look at a book and tell your own spin on the pictures you're seeing, or like tell stories about your own life and like maybe make the characters a little more fancy than they are in real life. So that's all reading, right?
It is. It's all reading.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times families don't realize that getting children to verbalize to you and create their own stories, as I was saying earlier, is so much a part of them gaining literacy skills. And you can take someone who, as an adult, maybe is not a reader, and they're struggling with, well, how do I present this book to my child? You know, what can I do? I can't really read every word on the page. That's okay. Just flipping through the pictures, as Natalie said, just allowing them to hold the book, flip through the pictures, you create the story. But then, yes, telling them stories at night. One of the funnest games that I used to play with my children when they were really young was basically me starting a story and letting them add to the story.
Yeah.
And then saying to them, and what do you think happened in the end? And then going back and saying, what if we change the beginning and we put in 2 different characters, you know, and now they're superheroes. You know, doing something like that gets them thinking about it, and it also helps with their reading comprehension because it gets them thinking about what happens at the beginning, the middle, and the end of a book. And that truly is reading comprehension.
I'm going to do that. I love that. I love that.
It's so much fun. It really, truly is.
Do you have an age recommendation on doing something like that?
You can do that all the way. I used to do that with my kids. They loved it so much that they would do it all the way up through 4th and 5th grade. And you can do it the more, as they get into texts that are harder for them and more difficult for them, you can still do that. It's still fun for them to say, gosh, I wish that the book ended this way. Well, why do you wish it ended that way? And that's a 5th grader, you know, reading The Eldest or something, or even The Hobbit, you know, something that's above their level. You know, but having those conversations really is always getting them to think and think intuitively about the book and connect it to other experiences that they're having in their life. That's another huge part of comprehension.
Some of the cute, when I see, and I go on the daycare screen, and I'll look at the kids, and I see the teacher, and I know I'm watching through the camera, and I see that it's book time. It's the cutest thing to see them all gathered around every day, and I know what time it is. And they're all so, I can't hear, but they just look so engaged, and like they love that part of the day.
Yes.
It's definitely, so it's a story time. Story
Yes.
time. Yeah, and I know a lot of local libraries have that. I've been to it in my community too, and it's super fun.
Ann Arbor definitely has story time. Ann Arbor libraries offer a lot. You guys
They
are in
do.
Dexter. I don't know exactly what the Dexter libraries
Yes,
offer.
they
but
do.
I
They
feel
all
like I
have
live there
great
for that
programs.
story time. And it's a great way that you meet other parents, other
is.
children.
Yep.
They get to engage. Sometimes different story times will do a craft. I've done story times at Cultivate, Coffee, and Ipsy.
Okay.
And so different themed ones. So I think it's just, you just look around, and this is a very literary rich.
Well, I mean, you talk
Very
about
much so.
CLNs there because like books aren't available to every kid, but there are libraries available. So
There
you can
are.
take your kid to the library, and then they have
Exactly.
the Dolly Parton one, which is not always available in every community. I know
Yes.
I'm not.
So
it's
the
not
Dolly-
available in mine.
Yes, so the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, I actually think is not available in this area anymore. And that's another reason that CLN created the CLN Reads website, because as they gain those reading goals and those reading points on our website, we actually mail books.
Oh, really?
Yes, they can work up to being able to, so it's very much like the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, the theme of that. And we took it and basically, again, using the hook to a book, we basically want them to be able to level up and get a reading avatar and do all these cool things. But as they earn their reading goals, they actually earn a reading, what we call a golden book reward. And they get to choose a book. So it's self-chosen still on our website, and it will be mailed directly to their homes. So for those those kids who don't have transportation to libraries, they can get on there and do that all summer long.
So that's like getting that's a gift in the mail, right?
Yes,
I
it
would
is.
imagine
it's very
like
exciting.
a surprise.
It is. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Is there any like criteria that you have as a child to be in CLN?
to be part of the CLN
Yeah,
Reads.
yeah.
So actually right now we just extended it to 4, it's going to be in 4 elementaries that are in Ypsi as well as Ann Arbor. Mitchell Elementary in Ann Arbor will be participating this summer. And then starting next school year, we're going to be looking at branching it out and including other organizations as well. So, you know,
keep your eye out.
Yes, exactly. Keep your eye out. It's growing fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, like, for you, do you feel like Living by the Page is for, like, is it for the adult? Is it for the kid? Like,
Sure.
Really, I mean, should, you know, if you're a, 12-year-old and you have an Instagram account, should they
Yes,
be?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
I read up to even sometimes middle grade and young adult. So, Some of it is just that I used to think, oh, I want to get ahead and see what they would be reading eventually. And also some middle grade and young adult. Middle grade can be some 3rd through 6th grade, for example, and young adult obviously has more mature themes. But I think like The Fault in Our Stars, some of those books just are wonderful, just even for adults to read. And so, and Kate DiCamillo, who's written The Tale of Despero.
Yes.
I mean, again, as we've heard her audiobook when we've done road trips down to Atlanta, and my husband will say just like, oh, she's just an amazing author, and just these stories that you get involved in. So I would say just read widely if you have time, if you can, because then it's fun when your kids do start to read some of those books. You're aware of the characters and you can be talking about them together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Betsy, Natalie, thank you both so much for coming on and
so
talking with us.
Thank you for having us.
Super fun. I think we're going to take some tips from this. So to apply it to our real lives. So this is wonderful, and both of and what you do is wonderful. So it's an absolute asset to what you guys both do and promote, and it's pretty great. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you have an idea for a parenting show topic or a guest, you can talk to us on Twitter and Facebook at #CTNAnnArbor.
For more on programming and services at CTN, visit a2gov.org/CTN. Visit youtube.com/CTN Ann Arbor to watch our full lineup, and remember to like, comment, and share. Thanks for joining us on this adventure in parenthood.